Hello, welcome back to my channel. Please subscribe to my channel, like my videos, and please check my channel for other Z-World updates. So the last update about Twist of Fate. Prachi arrived at the Kohli's house and stops Rhea and Ranbir's wedding, and Siddharth also comes there and exposes Rhea. Let's continue. Prachi asks Ranbir to ask his heart and says it misses me even till now. She asks him to keep his ego away and says, I was waiting for you, but you did not come. She says, I have come. Make one step towards me and believe me. She asks him to walk forward and hold her hand. Rhea shouted enough and says that is it. She asks Prachi to stop her drama. Prachi asks her to be quiet and asks her not to think of separating them, as there are two reasons for their union. She says the reason is that I will not listen to you. Pallavi says that is enough and says I am silent and that is why you are going on talking. She says Rhea and Ranbir will marry and asks her to leave. Prachi says not today and says let me say and then I will accept Ranbir's decision. She asks Ranbir to keep his hand on his heart and asks if he loves her. She asks if she needs any proof to prove her love. Rhea says I will call the police if you come here again. She holds Prachi's hand and she is taking her out. Ranbir asks Rhea to leave Prachi's hand and asks her why did you take so much time to come. He says I always hear my heart and my life is not my life without you. He takes off the garland and the guard badan cloth. He says I love you Prachi. Prachi cries and runs to hug him. A song plays in the background. Ranbir and Prachi have a hug. Rhea is shocked and she shouted no, and it shows that it is Rhea's imagination. Pallavi asks what happened. Rhea says Ranbir was there. Pallavi asks what happened. Rhea says the guard badan cloth opened. Pallavi says that is why he shouted aloud. The priest says the last round is remaining. Pallavi ties the guard badan again. Rhea and Ranbir complete the last round. The priest asks them to sit. Rhea thinks I have lied to Siddharth. Prachi will believe it and think that Pallavi wanted Ranbir and me to get united, and she thinks that she will not come here. The priest asks Ranbir to fill the vermilion on Rhea's forehead. Prachi comes to the venue and asks about Ranbir Kohli's marriage. The receptionist says that way. Prachi runs towards there. Ranbir takes the vermilion in his hand and again imagines Prachi and fills Rhea's forehead with it. Prachi comes there and sees Ranbir filling the vermilion in Rhea's forehead. She faints and falls down before she could stop him. Rhea smiles. Ranbir smiles as he sees Prachi's face instead of Rhea's face, and he then makes Rhea wear the wedding necklace and he smiles. Prachi is unconscious. Later, Prachi gains consciousness and says where is Ranbir? She collides with the employee of the banquet hall who tells her that the marriage is done and they have left. Prachi thinks that this cannot happen and she recalls Siddharth's words. She thinks that this marriage cannot happen and she keeps her hand on her tummy. She comes out of the hotel and says you had said that you are a one-woman man. Then why did you do this marriage? Prachi says you had promised that you will never leave me and says we have sworn to be together for 7 baths. Then why did you have relationship with someone else? She says you have gone far away from me and you acted to be upset with me. She says you wanted to marry Rhea and betrayed me on the pretext of moving on. Prachi wipes her tears and says it is enough. You did not understand my love and my sister also doesn't deserve my trust. She says you both have betrayed me and I will give answers to your betrayer. She says I will not cry anymore. I will not request, but I will ask for my right. Prachi says the matter is about my child and his upbringing. She says I will not let you both play with us and I will not let you leave. She says I am coming to give you answers to all your doings. She started walking on the road. Pallavi calls the servant to bring the outer tally. Ranbir and Rhea were standing at the door for the Gra Peresh. Vikram says he did not see her happy before. Grandma says she was happy at the time of her marriage. Pallavi says my son and daughter-in-law are waiting for me. She gets their tilak and outie. Prachi is seen getting down from the car and walking holding a luggage trolley. Pallavi happily does the rituals. Rhea smiles. Prachi is coming there. Pallavi asks Rhea to kick the kalash and step into the vermilion plate and get inside the house. She says bring your auspicious feet inside the house. Rhea kicks the kalash and steps into the vermilion plate and walks inside the house happily. Ranbir is still standing on the door and looks at the footprint. He recalls Prachi's Gra Peresh and gets sad. Shaina tells Rhea that her room is having a romantic feeling decoration. Rhea and Ranbir takes Pallavi's blessings. Pallavi says God shall keep their marriage united. Prachi enters the house and says you cannot give them these blessings as God has made Ranbir's marriage with someone else before. Everyone is stunned seeing Prachi. Prachi says you are insulting God by making this marriage with someone else and putting God in a dilemma. Ranbir looks at Prachi. A song plays in the background. Prachi steps inside the house boldly and takes the water jug from the dining table and pours it on Rhea's footprint. Rhea gets angry and asks what the hell. Prachi asks, are you getting angry as I have splashed water on your footprint or because I have ruined your doings? Rhea shouted at Prachi, asking what is she doing. Prachi asks, why are you angry as I have splashed water on your footprint or on your doings? Rhea, Pallavi and Ranbir are shocked. Prachi asks the servant to bring the wiper to wipe the footprint. Pallavi asks, how dare you to disturb Rhea and Ranbir's marriage rituals? She asks, didn't your mother tell you that it is very sacred? Prachi says my vermilion is very sacred and says it is used for the puja etc. and says if it is applied with the wrong fit, then think if happiness or destruction will come into the house. Pallavi says I don't want to argue with you and asks her to leave. Prachi comes to Ranbir and looks at him emotionally. She then breaks his garland. Pallavi asks what is happening. She calls the security. Prachi asks why are you calling the security? As I have broken the bondage. She says I will break this relationship. Then whom will you call? Rhea says we will not tolerate your misbehavior. Prachi says breaking the illegal things is not misbehavior and says if this is misbehavior, then what is it which you have done? Rhea says you are crossing your limit. Prachi says I have come here as a daughter-in-law and you don't need to tell me. Vikram says we will talk about this later for everyone. Prachi says I used to think about everyone before, but now I am thinking about myself. Rhea asks Ranbir to stop Prachi and say something. Ranbir asks Prachi, why are you doing this? Prachi says I was thinking that I shall do this before, but you claimed you love me and you married my sister. Rhea says I would answer you and says this marriage should have happened long before when you forcefully married him. Prachi says we used to love and I did not force him to marry me. She says how can this marriage happen when Ranbir is already married to me? Rhea says your marriage is broken with him. Prachi says I will decide this and says Ranbir and my relationship will never get over. Pallavi asks her to leave the house without doing any drama. Prachi recalls Siddharth's words and says you made joke of my love, marriage and everything. Prachi says to Pallavi that you used to treat me worse than a servant and you never gave me the love and respect which I deserve. She says daily you used to explain my role and judge me always. She says I used to do all the things as I used to love and respect you. She says I have done my duty as a daughter-in-law and now I will do my duty as a wife. Prachi says I have bear enough, now you shall bear some. It is not that difficult. She folds her hand and asks all the guests to leave. She tells the guests that she is Ranbir's wife and she is alive. She says the show is over which happened in the name of marriage. Rhea asks who are you to call our marriage a show? Prachi says she is Mrs. Prachi Ranbir Kohli, this house daughter-in-law, Ranbir's wife and your sister. Grandma smiles seeing Prachi fighting for her right. Prachi tells the guests that she will not bear the inauspicious reflection on the house and that is why she watched the fit impression. Prachi says tell everyone that Ranbir's wife has returned. She says I am his first wife. Rhea shouted Prachi. Prachi says you are his second wife and says I am giving you the respect and says there is nothing like second wife in our society. When wife is alive, then the husband cannot remarry. Prachi says as per IPC section 494, this marriage is null and void. This is not a valid marriage. She tells Rhea that her marriage is declared illegal and says the right from you is snatched and break her garland. Rhea asks how dare you and raises her hand to slap Prachi. Prachi holds Rhea's hand and says you are younger than me, else I will slap you so strong that you will understand what is your respect in my love. She says I have seen your real face and identified you. She asks her not to be sultan. She then asks Ranbir what happened to him and asks if he doesn't know that he cannot remarry when she is alive. Rhea asks Pallavi and Vikram to kick Prachi out of their house. She says she is calling my marriage as fraud and says such woman doesn't deserve to stay in our society or in our house. She says we all know what she has done. She was with my husband in an hotel room and now she is claiming her husband. Prachi gets angry and slaps Rhea hard. Prachi says you have spoken enough. Now I don't bear anymore. She says I don't care about what you think and says my husband thought matters to me. She asks her to be in limit, else she will not bear it. Vikram says it is enough Prachi and asks what do you think? That we will bear what you do and say. Prachi says, I am sorry, forgive me. I respect you and you know this as well. She says, I don't have any way right now and says that you don't know the truth. She says you used to hear mommy and supported her. She asks him not to stop her and don't interfere in my decision. Grandma says, today I am very happy seeing this girl fighting for her right. I cannot tell you how happy I am. Prachi says that she is standing here. Ranbir says, why did you come here? When Rhea and I got married. He says, you asked me why did I get married? And says, why did you come today? You would have come before. Then why did you come today? Prachi recalls detecting her pregnancy and recalls her words. She says, I have come here as I... Ranbir asks her to say it. Rhea asks Ranbir not to hear her and says she came to break our marriage. Ranbir thinks that Prachi should tell him that her anger is over and she have come back to him. He thinks apologize to me and thinks that he wants Prachi in his life. Prachi thinks you have kicked me out of your life by blaming me with such cheap accusation and thinks to hate him. She says, I have only loved you. Ranbir thinks I thought to hate you, but my hatred went away and asks her to tell him once. Prachi says, I came today as I did not know that you will fall low. She says, I don't know that you will marry my sister and I was unaware that you don't value our marriage and says you are my husband and she is my sister, but you both are cheap people. Rhea says, that is it. We are together and you are not needed here. Prachi says, this is my house and I have right on this house and asks Rhea to leave. Pallavi says, I will call the police and the police will take her out. She calls the inspector and asks him to take the girl who is troubling her family away. Ranbir and Prachi looks at each other. A song plays in the background. Pallavi asks Prachi to leave before the police comes and arrest her. Prachi asks Pallavi to agree silently, else the police would only take the ones who doesn't belong to this family away. Pallavi keeps the milk and the rose water and tells the guest that this girl has misbehaved with you. I apologize for that and says until the police comes and arrest her, we shall do our work. Pallavi asks Rhea and Ranbir to ignore that girl and complete the ring-finding ceremony. She says we shall not spoil the function and asks Shaina to perform on the song. She says this marriage is done and we shall celebrate. Rhea smiles and Pallavi asks her to come. Ranbir asks Prachi why is she doing this. Prachi asks if this is the reason for what you have married. Ranbir says I married you for love. Prachi accused Ranbir for conspiracy. They looked at each other. Rhea comes to Ranbir and holds his hand. She takes Ranbir with her. Prachi looks on. Thank you for watching my videos. Please kindly check my channel for other Z World updates and also the previous update on Twist of Fate since it has ended on Z World, but I will continue giving you guys the updates of the upcoming ones. That is by the time they will start again, all the ones they will do. Please check the channel for more. Thank you.